Hello once again. We're back on Gelvin Valley. Have just a little bit more to finish up this field here, which I'll try to do tonight, I think yet. We're heading off to hit the hay. One little triangle left. Kind of surprised how quickly we actually went through this field. Time flies when you're having fun, right? I kind of need to turn my combine off. Once we got away from the edge of the field, it seems like Courseplay did a pretty decent job. Let's see if I can top off his tank. I'm gonna send him. Well, he almost has a full load anyhow. We emptied our combine, which is good. And we'll come back for our tractor. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna head to the other field. It's interesting. Just heading out the gate of this field, I'm reminded of what we did on the farm. Maybe other areas of the world do this too. Well, we see how dirty this combine is. The farm I worked on was grass seed. One of the things we were pretty careful about was transporting between fields, weeds or that kind of thing. And so one of the things we always did before heading to another, oh, gotta quit talking and start driving. Except to stay out of the ditch. Yikes, that caught me off guard. But anybody familiar with combining a little bit knows the straw and chaff that can build up kind of down here on the back tires in particular, and in various other areas on the machine. We didn't always blow it off entirely, but a lot of times, whether by hand or with kind of a leaf blower or something like that, we would take the chaff off the back of the machine because a lot of times weeds would sit in there. That's kind of where all the smaller particulate matter ended up on the combine during harvest. So we would try to clean it off before we just headed to another field. So that way we didn't take any corruption to another field. Now, I don't remember if I monkeyed. Oh, good, good, good. It appears I changed the collisions on here, so we'll just pretend we don't see that big old fence post and kind of drive right on through it. Get out into this field a little bit. We'll drop our straw. Oh, except I didn't mean to drop it out the door. Oh well, can't be helped. Now this particular field is just a little field, but it was already an arable field that you owned from the start. And it's interesting, I'd have to ask the map author. For a little field like this, we see I'll just get it higher. We see the narrow little opening. If it's an arable field, would they harvest or plant cereal grains in here, knowing you'd have to bring in a combine? And, as it was, this combine is too wide even to fit in the gate. So maybe back in the day they just had a whole lot smaller combines or whatever. I don't know if you're going to make a turn decent. I'm going to help you out. There we go. But if this is based on an area that's somewhat realistic, I'd be curious in real life, for a little field like this is just a dinky thing. What would you plant in it? I almost wonder if it would have been left grass, but like I say, it was kind of arable, so I'm going to take him off the course. I'll get him over to that other field, but I really don't think we'll set up a course on that other field. It's just so small. It should, hopefully, be able to fit all of it into this trailer. It's kind of convenient that the trailer emptied out after field 22. So head up to... Here's an interesting field. This one has a river kind of right in the middle of it. It's kind of a dry wash. It labels it on the map as blue as if it has water. It'd be really cool if certain times if you would see water in it. But I realize that takes a lot of scripting and work to mod something like that. It's kind of cool when guys can do that. I have a feeling our combine is having trouble, sure enough. He now is kissing the fence. So we'll try to take him off of his fence kick. Get him going on around. And for anybody watching these, like I say, I apologize if they're kind of dull. All you have is a boring accountant talking in the background while you watch kind of the same old happening. Again, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just recording videos as I play, and I'm trying to talk while I do it about whatever comes to mind. All right, so we'll hire here. What is he? 37%. Head back over here. Try to finish up our windrowing. I think I mentioned last time it always was exciting when I was on the farm to be the one that got to go to the new field to continue the harvest. So here, I guess it's kind of lonely. This guy's left in the field to finish up the windrowing, but that's all right. We have big shoulders. We can handle it. I'd be curious to know how people run these windrower units. I always turn the rotors off when I'm turning a corner because, well, I don't want it to mess up the windrow I'm going over. And I realize you can lift them, but I think I've noticed that just because you lift the rotors doesn't mean they quit impacting the straw or hay or whatever underneath it. So yeah, the only way I've been able to get out of it is just coming up to the end, and I just flat out turn them off. Maybe other people are more... I realize that isn't totally realistic. Because I think in the field... Well, you know, this one here is, I assume it's PTO driven. You know, on the farm, I remember the rake that we had, it was ground driven. So, if you weren't driving your, in our case we had a side rake, if you weren't driving, the side rake wasn't working. I think you could turn it off, but it was all manual. It wasn't something you could do from the seat of the tractor. You had to go to the rake itself, and there was like a little oh, not a PTO shaft, but it looked kind of like that was attached to the wheels. So you could unattach it so that it would quit running the raking mechanism. But that was the only way to turn it off. It was just off and on. And in the field, you were 100% on at all times. So if you were moving, you were raking. And so you had to be a little bit careful with that. But you could make it work. Whereas this one here seems to be... Oh yes, there's the PTO shaft. You know, in 17, there was a mod I found, and this seems like a small little thing. Maybe people wouldn't care for it. But that PTO shaft I just showed you, I don't know if you noticed it isn't turning. You know, and in real life, those PTO shafts are turning at high speed. I'm not sure just how high a speed. I think there's different types of PTO shaft. But anyway, some guy came up with a mod. I almost think the guy's name, he's a scripter, Ifkonator, a German fella, I think, to where he simulated the turning. So I think the of the shaft. So you'd look at the PTO shaft, and I don't know that it was literally turning, but it would shake and wobble as if it was doing something, kind of like in real life you'd see it do. And then these shafts had a warning label on them or whatever. So maybe with use of a shader, I don't remember how he did it, you would see the label, the warning label, kind of move and turn round and around the shaft. Something there to simulate the turning of the PTO shaft. And I threw it in the mods folder. It's kind of like several episodes ago, I talked about the combine and some of the work I had done on it. And one of the changes I made on it was in the feeder housing, there's a paddle. And I got that sucker to turn on the mod, even though nobody really sees it. The only time you'll see it is kind of when the header is raised, and you'll see it kind of turning in there along with the wheel and all the other mechanism. I don't know why I did it, I just did it. It'd be nice to do another thing too, to get the sickle to move. That'd be kind of fun. I know for this combine, the version in FS17, I believe the sickle moves. Don't remember exactly, but I think it does. It's just fun adding those little bit of realism. So I know in 17 with this particular mod, and oh look, we're done with the field. It doesn't really do anything. It's all aesthetics. If you happen to look, and I think by now everybody knows kind of my playing style, I'm out of cap, I'm not even down there. You'd have to be up close. I play 17 the same way I play 15 generally, kind of up a distance. So you would have to be down up close to literally see it, but I still have it. I don't know, it's just like if you catch a glimpse, I kind of like having it there so that if you happen to be standing next to the machine while it's running, you can at least see it then. It'll enhance realism. For all I know, having a mod like that in there, it drains resources, if you aren't even gonna see it or use it. I don't know. I've been able to make it work. It's okay. Alright, so we'll take this guy over here. Aha, our combine is full. So let's just pull him off right here. Park him there for a moment. We'll go offload our combine. Still, you know what? I may be wrong. We may, well, we'll just see. We'll see if we get another combine load. We may not be able to fit all this in a single trailer. We'll give a whack at it. I think I can just leave him be. We'll go back over to tractor over here, get him closer to field. I'm just looking there, just to the left of the tractor, that yellower foliage down in the drainage ditch or whatever that is. Is that wheat? Alright, I'm curious now. I almost think that's wheat or something. Maybe it's withered? It looks like threshed wheat. Like it used to have wheat heads, but all the seeds are knocked out. I wonder if I can see that on the map. Let me just see here. I can take it to, here we go. Aha, yeah, it is. Okay, so we have wheat in the fields, that we're harvesting or whatever. Right now we're up here in 19. So our tractor would be along this road, and I see the map author put little bits of wheat in there. So I bet it's, yeah, it's all withered. Yeah, interesting. It just kind of caught my eye because it's moving with the wind a little bit more than some of the other foliage. Maybe sometime we can look at that. There's all kinds of settings in this game, so that kind of catches the eye when that stuff is moving a little bit more than some of the other things around it. And it's based on how the foliage is set up in the map's i3D file. That's something that's hugely different between all the versions. The way you set up a crop in Farm Sim 15 was totally changed and updated when you went to Farm Sim 17, and it was changed again in a big way in Farm Sim 19. I don't know what system Farm Sim 22 has, but I'd assume there's additional changes trying to make it a little bit easier, I think. More and more now, I think, is pulled out in an XML file versus having to open the the map's i3D file, kind of like you did in the old days, the Farm Sim 15 old days. That PTO shaft there reminds me of a story. Oh, it reminds me of several things. I'm sure farmers the world over have war stories involving PTO shafts. They can be very dangerous, and if you don't respect them or don't keep the shields on, you can be asking yourself for an accident to happen, just a world of hurt. Yeah, the particular story I remember, fortunately an accident didn't happen, but boy, it sure could have. I was nervous as all get out. I have I have an uncle that years ago had a hog farm, and he no longer does that. He eventually got out of the business. It's too hard here in the Willamette Valley to raise hogs. I'm not sure anybody does it anymore. Years ago, there was quite a number of farms that did. And he was one of them. He had probably, oh, he was just a small operation, maybe 110, 120 sows that he would farrow. And we don't have, one of the reasons that a lot of guys got out of the business is it's hard to find feed. The valley here is well suited for a lot of crops, but the most profitable for a lot of guys has been the grass seeds. So, there isn't even a lot of wheat here. There's no field corn to speak of. I mean, there's still corn grown, but it's more for sweet corn, for edible corn, people corn, if you will, or it's a forage crop, for the dairies. Rarely is it ever combined here in the valley. I think over in the eastern side of the state, there's some field corn they will combine over there. So corn is, one of the primary foods, that the hogs here would eat. And it's just hard to get. So if you want corn, you have to get it imported in from the Midwest or from wherever the closest growing region is. And anytime you got to bring it long distances, you're just paying through the nose in transportation costs. So that's part of the reason, there isn't as much hogs grown here in the valley. Really none at all, hardly. There's a few mom and pop places that do it, but maybe it's specialty type arrangements or whatever. But in terms of commercial production, there just isn't much to speak of. But back in the day, my uncle was one of those places trying to make a go of it. I think he really must have loved pigs or something. And so periodically, because he didn't have corn, he would bring in these huge semi-loads of corn. And he had a tractor, this old John Deere 4020, and an auger, I'm not even sure how you describe it. One of those augers, you set it down into a pit in the ground where the semi could run its trailer over, and it could open its belly down there so it could trickle it into kind of this hopper, if you will, where this auger was set. And then next to the auger, of course, and the way you'd run it is with the PTO shaft attached to the auger. So I'd seen my uncle handle this a couple of times, but this particular uncle is, oh, I love him, but he's a character. So one time he scared the daylights out of me when he was offloading corn from one of these semis. And at the time, he had this very frayed, old set of coveralls that he would wear on the farm. And when I say frayed, I mean there was strings hanging down from the crotch of his coveralls, and he was doing something. He started up the tractor and the PTO shaft to unload this corn from the semi that brought it in by standing in back of the tractor. He reached through the seat. I don't think he could reach over it. Like I say, it was a 40-20, so he was tall, but he couldn't quite get there. So he starts up the tractor, cranks it up, engages a PTO, and meanwhile, while he's standing over the top of it, he's straddling it, and these strings are hanging down right over this quickly rotating shaft of, the PTO shaft. And he revs the thing up, and he stands there for a little while, and I'm looking at this, and this was in the days before cell phones. I was just a kid, but I'm sitting there wondering, am I going to have to call 911? Or am I going to witness one of those accounts where somebody does something they shouldn't with a PTO shaft and gets hurt? Well, fortunately, nothing ever happened, but I can see in my mind's eye those strings hanging from his coveralls just flopping around down on this PTO shaft, that's hundreds and hundreds of RPMs going below it. And most of the time, I mean, I think PTO shafts should be pretty safe. I mean, a lot of times if they have a plastic guard on it, even when the PTO shaft is running, you could literally reach out and grab the plastic of it, and inside the plastic, the PTO shaft will continue to turn. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm saying, well, won't mention any names, but it has been done before. Where there would be danger sometimes in particular is if you had a metal case kind of around the PTO shaft, and sometimes the metal, over time, rainfall and whatever, you would corrode the PTO shaft inside with the covering that was on it. So in other words, when that sucker was turning, both the protective covering and the PTO shaft were basically as one. So you couldn't just reach out and hold the covering of the PTO shaft steady while it continued turning. I mean, if you did that, you twist your arm off. And a lot of times those metal ones, in particular, I mean, they could grab stuff, and I was just fearing I'd see it grab my uncle's coveralls and just twist him up and break every bone in his body in a million pieces. There are guys that have had that happen to him. I remember going to an accounting seminar back in Minnesota, and it was in one of those inspirational speakers that came in and to talk about his life, and he had somewhere in his life he had tangled with a PTO shaft on a tractor, and I don't know what exactly happened, or how he got out of it, but it just crushed many, many bones in his body and flopped him about like a rag doll, and it's a wonder he didn't die. And he talks about him, he was very close to dying, but it's just not something you want to mess with on the farm. You need to respect the machine and what it can do, and not take any foolish shortcuts. And I mean, I gotta say, I've taken some too, and I just feel fortunate that nothing ever happened. But there's always a guy that takes a shortcut, does something in a hurry or whatever it is, and then pays a pretty hefty cost for not respecting the machine. So I'm just thankful nothing happened to my uncle. He's still alive and kicking, and nothing bad happened. So thankful for that. but doesn't always end up that way. We kind of transported down the hill. This is a main area of the farm here that we're coming back to, and I wonder, can I sneak in here? There maybe is another gate somewhere. I'm not really sure. Let me see if... Please, did I take collisions off of these posts? Well, hallelujah, it looks like I did. This ordinarily is a pasture, but I noticed nobody owned it. I don't currently have any cows on it. So last time I planted fields, I figured I'm just gonna plant it to wheat and harvest it like anything else and try to earn a little bit of money on the real estate that we have in here. It's kind of a steep field, little nasty shaped. It's rougher and all get out there because it's intended to be a grass field, but that's all right. We'll get some wheat. We'll take this guy down the hill to... I should have used... I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy yakking. I should have used follow... Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Leave bank. It's going to twist me around. I intended to hit the home key. There we go. Turn on my beacons. Take him downhill so he can get ready to offload the combine. That's just a little field up there, and you know, I'm kind of curious, what am I down to? So, I think the green is still harvestable. This little green area, kind of 9, 10, 11 field, that's where we're at right now. We've already, I think when I started these videos, I was harvesting field 1. Maybe I've already, yeah, it appears I've harvested field 2, so this is before the video. So I kind of came here, came up to 43, 41, 42, down to 32, kind of circled through the map, come up top, 19. So now we're down here. Once we get done here, we have just 3 fields left. There's 37, 38, you can barely read them. Field number 8, close to the main farm, if you will. I can't remember if we did it always that way back on the farm, you know, where you took care of all the other land that was outside or on the perimeter of your land holdings, and then you came back home, kind of a homecoming. You did the home place last. Like I say, it always depends on what was planted in there. We didn't always do that. Whoa, almost ended up in the ditch. Brother, are there a lot of ditches on here? We'll head down over the hill to him. I think those white signs must be warnings that we have a steep hill coming. Kind of see our field handiwork on the far side of the valley. As evening continues to wane away, it's almost 20 o'clock. I guess that'd be 8 o'clock in the evening. Almost seems hard to believe. We started early in the morning, but all those fields have pretty much been harvested all in the same day. It feels like a lot, but it really isn't. So it's kind of nice to have it set up so you can get it all done kind of within the same day, but I don't know. If it gets too dark, I think I'll just fast forward it to tomorrow. And then on the heels of combining, you know, we'll head right in with the baler and take care of that and deal with all of that as we clean up the fields. Well, it looks like my combine is full, clearing the far side of the field, so take him in. And we just so happen on the main farm here, we're close to grain storage, so I think I'll tuck some of it away Realize I'm still negative cash, but I'm getting a whole lot closer to being solvent. Yeah, there's a tight corner. I'm gonna drive over the crop, but what else can I do? You know, in real life with a hillside combine, anytime we would come into a truck like this, well, first off, we would turn off the hillside. Anytime you were turning corners with the thing, the hillside could be a little bit wonky, and if you weren't paying attention, you could level yourself right into the truck. So we would turn it off. But you see, this is quite a distance above this trailer. You know, with the grass seed that we had, it'd often be windy and or some amount of wind, and you didn't want to blow it out of the truck. So we would use the leveling to tilt the combine over closer to the truck, you know, to kind of help with the unloading. Or so we tried to do anyhow. Let me see if I can get him kind of around this corner. Kind of, I don't know if I'll be able to harvest all of it. Got a little close to the fence, but man, this is picturesque. I just love it. Not many maps where you see the water moving kind of like this. Let me just get him up here a little bit. See if I can put him on higher. Please stay away from the fence. Whew, that's close. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, here's the other entrance. But it's just as narrow as the other. And I probably didn't remove any collisions. Maybe someday I'll own this field back here too. All of these fields are very picturesque. Just love it. Anywho, everybody close their eyes. They don't see me driving in the crop while I turn around. This I'll probably get a few loads out of, so I think I'll set up a course. It seems a thing to do. Probably need to set it up here. Just to have something to aim for from the middle of the field. So let's give this a try. Remember, I gotta keep it straight for it. The second one is really... Okay, here we go. So let me out the door. And we slip right down here into our storage. Just a short little distance. Go in cab briefly. Alright, I can offload. No dollars this time, but I'm banking it for later. Come on out of here and make another course. I know I've commented before, there's all kinds of different styles of farming. I chose to do arable kind of in this map. I don't care for the animals as much. I guess that isn't as much my thing, but I do it occasionally. Let's set this up. I'll call it pasture combi storage. Yeah, that'll work, right? So I save the course. I'm sorry, this kind of destroys realism. I'm going to leave him up here for a little bit. I'll get him driving. Yep. Okay, but I think our combine is having a little bit of trouble. Now look at that. Put its hind end kind of over the fence. I've taken damage every time that header moves. Not sure what's causing that. Yeah, we'll get a fair amount of cropping out of here. It's already 80% full. Yeah, I think I'll be glad that I ripped the soil up here, but I know my tractor is going to be finding issues. Well, yeah, it's probably gonna head up to the fence. Oh my. I will say in real life, when you do the outer round or the opening round of the field, it takes a little more skill to do it right. I guess that's similar in games. It's fair to expect the hired help to be, behave or perform the same way when it's the outer rounds. Maybe it isn't. I think he's going to have some difficulty turning around, so I'm going to try to help him out. Maybe take an extra strip in here so we got a little more space to work with. Maybe even a third, just for good measure. There we go. You know, in later versions of Courseplay, I almost think maybe there's a FS19 version. I almost think when it comes to cutting corners kind of at the edge or the corners of the field, kind of like we're at right now, whoops, that it also does that. It just takes a little extra swipe to make a cleaner corner. What did it do? There we go. Alright, I'll manually take him around and we'll get this guy unloaded. Looking at the clock once again, I'm astounded to see another easily a half hour's gone by where I've kept you bored for anybody that's watching. So once he's emptied, I think I'm gonna end the video there. So for anybody who watched all the way through, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I'm enjoying all this, but I would enjoy it whether I was talking or sharing this with anybody else or not. So, but hope everybody is doing well. Have a good evening and good night. Take care.